We have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
It makes people feel good to say they're successful, but productive is so much better.
What does a win look like for you? If you don't know what a win looks like for you, then you're hoping to get lucky, and we all know hope's not a strategy.
If you focus on money, you're never going to have any. And if you focus on people, you'll have all the money you need.
I think the biggest thing is just staying consistent and communicating with your clients with what's going on. If it's bad news, give them the bad news. If it's good news, give them the good news, but you can't be afraid of telling them.
Making real estate simple. That's it.
All systems are go. Over.
What's up? Welcome back to the simpliHŌM podcast. I'm your guest. I'm not your guest. I'm your host, Sean Miku. I have a phenomenal guest that we haven't had since August the 12th last year, right before the real estate world slammed on the brakes. My dear friend, Mr. Austin Kepley. He's the guest. But if I keep going the way I'm going, I might just be the guest and let him be the host. So what up, dude?
We'll get through it one way or another.
We might. Your voice sounds like crap. My brain feels like crap.
I was talking perfectly fine like 8 hours ago and then woke up and my voice decided it didn't feel like doing the podcast today, but we'll get through it.
Yeah. Well, so full disclosure, Austin and I were both working until about 2:30 this morning. So it has nothing to do with our health or our voices, just the fact that we don't believe in sleep.
No. Overworked and underpaid, probably. So.
Yeah, overworked, underpaid, and disrespected.
Something like that.
So what's up? You're going to catch up. It's been, let's see, it's August to whatever today is June, right? So it's been like 10 months since we did this thing. And in August, we probably didn't even realize it when we filmed the podcast.
No, we didn't.
That interest rates were sneaking up, affordability was slipping away, and I can't remember. Was it August that I coerced you to buy a really terrible investment?
I think it was right around maybe July.
Yeah,
right about that time.
Yeah.
It was one of many. Yeah, for sure.
So, so take your investing advice from him and not from me, because I'm not the guy for it. But I'm 0 for 2 on house investing, but Austin's like 12 for 13, and the one loss was mine.
Yeah. The one time I partnered with Sean, I lost money, so I don't partner with Sean anymore.
Yeah, good call. So how did you navigate? Like, I mean, I don't remember. You had a bunch of properties at the time. I think didn't you have a lot of holdings at the time? Yeah,
I mean, so last time I was on the show was in August, and we were really at like the top of, like, the machine was running really well for us. Things were just wash, rinse, repeat, make money, go on to the next project. And what I did not know in August, like I sat down here in August, and naturally business has a way of you think you've got it all figured out.
It humbles you really quick,
humbles
right?
you very quickly.
Yeah.
And so for, the last 8 months, and really I would say from August to like January, was a giant lesson of all the things that we had been doing wrong for the last 2 years.
Same.
So obviously we lost a little bit of money on your deal, and then we actually ended up losing in total, and I don't care to share this, about $130,000 in different projects that we bought that we thought, the market will make up for the mistakes, or the project went on too long. And it was $130,000 worth of humble pie and questioning if I even knew how to invest in real estate.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's just we got caught, getting too aggressive sometimes. And then the market put us in our place.
Yeah. Well, it was $130,000 that you didn't have to pay taxes on, so that's good.
Still waiting to not pay taxes on that,
but so that's a win though, right? Like only losing 130, not only, obviously 130 is a lot of money, but I'm sure there were others that lost significantly more facing the same circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, it was, for us, I remember it was probably late October, November that everyone started to realize that, like, these rates aren't this isn't just a slight bump. Like, this is going to get a little bit serious. The market's going to shift. And I remember sitting down with a mentor of mine who went through the recession, because I was still in high school or middle school when the recession was going on. And I asked him, I said, look, when you were when you were going into that, like, what's the one thing that you did that you feel like helped you come out the other side? And he was like, Austin, honestly, I just took the losses and rolled on. Like I would have, he's like, I cut projects, I took the losses, and I was able to live to fight another day. He's like, the people who tried to hang on and make the projects work, and he's like, those were the people who ended up going bankrupt.
Yeah.
The ones that said, look, the market shifted, we're going to lose money, and just admitted it and moved on. Those were the ones that, you know, he felt like those were the people that actually got through. And so that's what we started doing is I remember sitting on my back porch with my wife and going through every project, and I had it actually pretty spot on. I thought we'd lose like 150 and we lost 130.
Nice.
And I was like, hey, like, we have to get rid of these projects. We're going to lose about $130,000.
We're building the deck next year, babe.
Yeah. And we both vomited and then drank and then vomited again and then got to work, you know. And at that point, it was like, hey, this is the situation, and it's not going to get any better by wallowing in the pain of it. We've got to just keep moving on so that we can live to fight another day.
Yeah. So then now here we are 10 months later. Obviously, interest rates trended down a little bit at the first of the year. The market kind of fired back. Like, everything's going really well. I'm more worried about upcoming Q4. Kind of wish the Fed had raised rates yesterday just to get it out of the way, but whatever. Do you feel that was the right decision?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, it allowed us, we had pretty much cleared all of our bad inventory by early January. And what I found was that, like, I spent less time worrying about the mistakes I'd made, and just at that point was able to shift to, okay, here's how we're going to do it differently. We're on pace for what seems to be one of our best years as far as profits. We have more cash in the bank than we've ever had. Because at the time, that was one mistake I made, is I was like, oh, this is just going to keep going on forever. We'll throw all the cash back into the next deal, right? Yeah. Because any real estate investor, like, most of them don't have money in their bank account because it's always in another project. Now we've started to take some chips off the table. Let's hold on to some money for a rainy day, because it does rain, according to Dave Ramsey. And I think I mentioned him on the last podcast. So,
well, I mentioned him on Tuesday night at our thing. So there's that.
But you know, there's and we've talked about this. Like, I grew up under, like, there was like Jesus and then Dave Ramsey, and like those were the two most important people, right? And
I thought they were the same person.
Pretty much in the South, especially around here. But there are principles that, like, I got into investing and immediately was like, he's completely an idiot. Well, there are some things that, like, you probably should save some cash for a rainy day. Don't throw all your money back into every real estate investment. But we have a balance of that now. We definitely still have enough debt that Dave Ramsey would condemn me to.
Yeah. So which is your favorite envelope? The airplane envelope or the real estate envelope?
We still put a lot of debt out there. So we have not used an envelope here recently. So.
By the way, this is the first episode in our history that Grant finally has a freaking microphone.
I do.
Oh my God. But you don't have a camera, bro.
Still did not get a Grant cam.
It's okay.
How do we not have a Grant 50% cam?
There.
50% there. Jeez Louise. Yeah, we got to get like a little, I've got one actually in my office, the little, the Lumina, like I get sold by Instagram ads for a living. I'm pretty sure that's my full-time job at this point. Is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to buy that too. And so I bought the Lumina webcam. I think it's Lumina. This is not an ad, by the way, because the next week after I bought it, iPhone rolled out with the whole, like, it syncs up with your iPhone for webcam. I don't even need the $299 thing.
I didn't even know it did that.
Okay, well, there's your lesson for the day.
There's my tech tip for the day.
There's your tech tip. Would you like me to teach you how to scan documents in the notes
I do know how to do that, actually. I'm a realtor, so.
Sorry, I couldn't help that one. All right, so what are your goals this year? Are you guys, like, obviously you're keeping more money in the bank. You've gone pretty hard, like Q1, Q2, you've done a really good job. I know you're pushing to obviously find more deals. Are more deals popping up? Are people more financially strapped, do you think?
It's very strange for us. So Honestly, my goal this year was to make a shift.
Like your puberty.
Ooh, yeah, it hit hard right there. But my goal this year has been to kind of shift more into a business versus a very high paid job, right? In the end, it is probably one of the toughest businesses, I think, to shift, where it runs almost passively without the owner.
Yeah.
Because you're making
a lot of
millions of
science
you're making
in that.
millions of dollars of investment decisions, and house flipping companies who remain unnamed, Open Door, prove that it's very, very hard to do it at scale if no one's watching your own money, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of hidden costs, things that you just learn over time. And so my goal's been to kind of shift our business to that, to be a little bit more passive, a little more work-life balance. We've been at it for 7 years now. So
dang, it's been 7 years.
It's been 7 years. I got my license.
You started when you were 20, bro?
In 2016, I got my license. And
I had started when I was 20.
So I'm at the point now that I'm like, let's, my kids are starting school this year. I want to be able to go to all the, lunches and terrible school plays and all those things that, so that's personally, that's our goal. Financially, honestly, we walked away from last year and it was like, okay, well, we just took $150,000 loss.
Yeah.
Let's make plans for how much business we're going to do in the next year. And at the time I was like, look, if we do the exact same amount of deals every year as we've done this year, and we just slowly get more and more profitable and more efficient, that's fine. And it was a very weird shift for me because naturally, like, I want to always do a little bit more, like growth. But it took me realizing that the growth may not be in our top line revenue. It may be in the fact that I only do it for 20 hours a week. And so I'm making the same top line revenue, but I also have these other businesses or ventures or, whatever the case may be. So that's been my primary focus this year, is to try to shift it more into a business versus a very high paid job.
Yeah. Well, cheers for AI.
Yeah.
We've been having a lot of conversations recently about AI, and in the real estate community as a whole, I think a lot of realtors have a unnecessary fear of replacement by AI. But I think you can leverage that tool to really buy a lot of time back. And by buy, I mean, like, it's free. You can't rely on it for everything. Grant had a little funny yesterday that I won't mention, but I will definitely show it to Austin off air. It was hilarious.
I mean, we can preface it.
Yeah, go for it.
I asked AI and Photoshop to remove wrinkles from a shirt of someone I took a photo of, one of our agents, and it completely replaced him entirely with someone else.
Yeah.
All the wrinkles were removed.
All the wrinkles were removed, yes. But that Photoshop thing is cool. And I heard or read, what was it, 200 billion things have been created in Photoshop via AI in the last 3 months since inception. Wild.
That's crazy.
200 billion, which is really only like, 10 per Photoshop license holder. I'm kidding. I remember back in the day when I used to download torrents. Sorry, FBI, you can stop listening now. Do you remember those?
No.
You don't remember torrents?
Yeah.
I know you're a kid.
Is this like illegal music software or?
Well, I'm not going to go with illegal. It was accessible, therefore it was in a public domain. But I have since paid for my licenses many times over. So, not overly concerned about it. But I was so broke and I needed Adobe Illustrator so I could make a horrible logo that I downloaded a torrent. Do you remember LimeWire?
Yes, I remember LimeWire.
You do remember LimeWire? Okay.
That's why I was asking. I was like,
no, I'm trying to figure out like
LimeWire was like 8-9 years old.
You were 8 and 9.
Like, I got in trouble because we had a desktop in our house and I downloaded LimeWire and then it like completely destroyed it.
And what were you downloading, Austin?
I was trying to download the latest Soulja Boy remix or something. I'm sure.
Crank that. Oh my God. All right. Did you use LimeWire?
Oh yeah, I broke my parents' computer too.
Oh man.
See, I saved up my pennies from cutting grass at the airport, and went and spent the night at Walmart on Black Friday night, or Black Friday Eve rather, when I was 14 or 15, and I bought this HP 15-inch laptop for $376. And I LimeWired the shit out of it. Like, there was LimeWire everything, and Microsoft Flight Simulator everything.
That's what's crazy is that, like, of course, I asked which one of us would bring up flying first. You just said
me,
Flight
of
Simulator.
course.
So, cool.
Obviously.
Now I can bring it up. Like, I was about to say, like, LimeWire and Flight Simulator is all I played growing up. So it's kind of strange that.
Really? I didn't know you did Flight Sim.
Because my stepdad was getting his private and getting his commercial, and so he would play it, and I'm like, that's really cool. You're flying an airplane on a computer. So
yeah.
You couldn't do that on your Motorola Razor at that time. So
I loved my Razor. That was a great phone. Yeah, so I started on Flight Simulator when I was 8.
I was probably around 8.
Yeah, I was 8, and it was on Microsoft Flight Sim 90. Shoot, I want to say it was 8. Might have been 95.
Mine
Either
was like
way,
03.
It was the. Did you play Flight Sim growing up?
No, I had a friend who did. But
Okay, so whichever one, it was a white 737-400 with burgundy engines and yellow stripes. That's all I remember. And that was like the default airplane. And I remember we're sitting, it was in California, and my mom had a computer in her room, and we couldn't afford multiple computers because, like, back then a computer was like a luxury for sure. And I didn't have a joystick because I didn't know they had joysticks. So I'm sitting here like trying to learn how to fly a 737, hitting the keyboard. And it was in Meigs Field. You remember Meigs Field? Obviously, that's your hometown, right? Grant's over here in Googleville.
You talking to me?
You
Yeah, bro.
talking to me? No, we're talking.
Do you
to
remember
the other
Meigs
person.
Field?
Meigs Field?
Yeah, in Chicago. The one that was like out. It was in Lake Michigan. And then in like 2008, the mayor, who's like a total loser, went and took bulldozers in the middle of the night and cut big X's into the runway. And then they turned it into some like local park thing for the citizens because they didn't like that it was like 2003 actually, I think, when he did it.
I mean, maybe when it happened, but
Yeah. Well, anyway, so the runway is tiny. It's like 3,600 feet or something by a whole lot of not wide. But the default airport location was Chicago Meigs Field, which is like this fantastic, like back in the day, we would have loved to fly in there. Cause like you get the Chicago skyline, Lake Michigan. Who doesn't love a fun crosswind and bumpy weather and crazy winds and whatever else on a really short runway? And for anyone who doesn't know, runway performance is a thing when you're factoring weights and temperatures and all these things. So I'm in a 737 trying to take off on a 3,600 foot runway, and I can't figure out why I keep crashing into the water. I'm like, what is happening?
You see.
But I celebrated the first time we got that thing in the air. I was like blowing through houses at 250 miles an hour. I can't figure out how to get in the air. I was like, oh, I did it. Yeah, anyway.
Not realistic at all.
Not realistic at all. Now I'm trying to teach my daughter how to fly via Flight Sim. It's wild.
it took you 18 minutes to reference flying, by the way.
Hey, that's a record.
That was longer than I thought.
Yeah,
So
I thought it would be like 18 seconds.
we were at, I think we said 4.
Yeah. So, anyways, speaking of flying, Mr. Instrument Rated Pilot over here, you weren't even a private pilot when we did this last. You were training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess not. No.
Austin just like jumped in to aviation full bore, and he created a business use case if he's going to scale his flipping business. And how's that going?
It's actually going really well.
Good.
Like my best rentals are the ones that I have to fly to. So, yeah, I mean, it kind of took off. It's something like I grew up obviously playing Flight Simulator, watching my stepdad, and it was something I was always like, well, I'll get around to it. And finally, like, this whole idea of more work-life balance, being able to travel more, and I was like, well, this is great,
Screw it, let's do it.
It probably helped that I live like 5 minutes from the airport.
Yeah.
So I sit on my back porch and watch airplanes all day long, and I'm like, it'd be nice to be in one of those. So
Now you are.
And
Yeah, and the work-life balance is key. And it's funny because, you know, when we were both coming up, it's like the hustle mentality was the thing that everyone's like, hustle, grind, grind. I am so anti that now. And I don't think it's because of any particular like level of perceived success or whatever, but I think it's more so that like when you realize that when you get to a goal, the things that are most important aren't the goal. Was that for you too? Like,
yeah. I mean, I remember that, like, I always had this number in mind. Like, I wanted to have $1 million net worth. And I always had this, like, the day that I cross that, like, I'll be set. You might as well call me Warren Buffett Jr. I am the richest man in America. You know, because, I mean, let's face it, both of us grew up, like, $1 million is a lot of money.
Yeah, man.
It's still a
dirt poor,
ton of money. And I remember one day, we were doing a loan for a property or something. They were like, "Oh, well, can you send me your personal financial statement?" And I updated it, and I was like, "Oh, like we just crossed $1 million bucks." I was like, "Oh,"
and nothing changed.
Like you look up for the confetti, you're like, there should be like some giant celebration or something, right? No, nothing happens.
Nothing at all.
It's not nearly as cool as like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You know, like you win at the very end. They're like, "Oh, you're a millionaire," you know, but it's not that. But I forgot where I was going with that, except to say that I kind of had the same mindset shift of like,
Dang, you recovered.
Dude, I could like feel the button.
You could feel the button.
Feel the button.
I was like, I'm not going to prompt it.
I could just see Grant was like, come on.
Well, luckily for you, this is a new board and I don't have the fart button.
Oh, man.
Great.
So you lucked out.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the hustle culture is kind of overplayed. I was listening to a podcast actually last night about it, and they were like, do you really think that like Warren Buffett stays up till 3 a.m. in the morning and hustles and grinds and doesn't go on vacation? Like, no.
Yeah.
There's got to be balance, but the hustle culture was like, it sold for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And it still sells, right? Like the people who are in like a hardcore sales role, that's all they're indoctrinated into is like sell, hustle, grind. And look, did Austin and I both work until like 3 o'clock this morning? Absolutely. Is that a regular thing? Nope.
No, I also played golf this morning for 4 hours.
Well,
so.
I didn't do that, but I argued about anyway. I'm actually going to play golf at 6 tonight.
Look at that.
And by play golf, I mean go to the driving range and embarrass the hell out of myself. But either way, it's still swinging a club and
free entertainment at the driving range at 6 o'clock for anyone that wants to join.
Yeah, absolutely. All the entertainment. The best thing I've found at the driving range is if you're stressed, you picture your enemy's face on each ball that you hit. And smash the shit out of it. Like it's fantastic. There's no consequences. Grant's like, oh my God, the amount of editing I got to do on this. All right, so tell me about growth goals. What are you guys doing?
I think I don't even want to use this word because it's such a buzzword in entrepreneurship. But for us, one of our main focuses this year was like vertical integration. So we're involved in
nailing that one, my friend.
We're doing pretty well on it so far, but like we're doing all of this business, and like last year and in the past years, we would do a lot of like, I'd find lots, we'd get them approved, and I would either partner with a builder or sell them off to a builder. I would obviously make some money, but then the builder was making money too. And for me, I was like, we're doing all this work to find a seller, get a good price, get it approved, and then we're taking a small fee and we're leaving money on the table. And so for us this year, it's been just to vertically integrate a lot of our things. So like we just got our GC license.
I love how he says we. As if he didn't go sit and take a test.
We as in me.
Butt off to get this license.
But we as in our company.
Also no confetti. Weird.
Yeah, no confetti when I passed that either. But we've done that. We've got some partnerships with other partners to where we're kind of receiving income in other ways for business that we're already doing. And so for us, it's just trying to optimize. I mean, I would say like if you're going to put a word on it, either vertical integration or just optimization.
Yeah.
I mean, just yesterday, like I was emailing you because I was like, look, I found a way that I can get our private lender payoffs done with one click of a button.
Absolutely.
Instead of like 30 minutes of typing.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. I mean, like from a technology perspective, I mean, we spend a lot of time and energy and whatever streamlining the automation aspects. And it's really tricky because like you can kind of fall into a trap of wanting to automate everything.
Oh yeah.
And to a degree you can automate most things, but there are some things you just can't. And I think some people like fall into a thought process of how can they, but I mean, there's so many tools out there that realtors should be using, or, you know, potential investors should be using, et cetera. I do want to mention, we keep mentioning no confetti, and we're mentioning it from my perspective, we're mentioning it to drill in the fact that like nobody's going to cheer you on this journey. Like,
no.
You got to cheer yourself on. And I'm going to mention a quote that I was told on Tuesday. Again, the dedication trumps motivation every single time. And if we weren't dedicated to our goals, we wouldn't show up every day. We wouldn't work until 3:30 and then have meetings from, let's see, my meetings today were 9, 10:30, 11:30 to 3:30, 4:30 and 6. And I still got to show up.
Yeah.
And I'm a little tired, and I had like half of an unsweet tea. So it's a lot of caffeine for me, man. I'm like, woo, let's do this thing. It's fun. But nobody's going to celebrate your accomplishments.
No.
Like I remember the day that the company that simpliHŌM got licensed, I came home and, Samantha and the kids had made a little cake and given me a little card that said congratulations. And not that we haven't had like little victory things along the way, like little milestones that you cross and you go, damn, like let's go to dinner and celebrate this one or whatever. Yeah. But in the grand scheme, there's not much that happens. There's just show up and go to battle every single day.
Yeah. I mean, and it's interesting because we, as entrepreneurs, I feel like we also, at least for myself, I try to not celebrate a lot of it because I'm like, yes,
absolutely.
But like, because the vision is so big, there's so much more work to be done.
For sure.
You know, for like, we had a property that we closed this year that was a larger farm, land development. Honestly, I was probably still working it when I was on the podcast back in August. And finally, like, got it closed, and like, we got a payday, which was 2.5 years in the making. And biggest payday we've ever at one time received. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Big
like,
whoop. What's next?
Next.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, oh, you know, it's funny because then the problem became, you know, we got this large check, and now it was like, okay, well, what do we do with all this money? Like, there was just a new problem to shift to.
Yeah.
And I think as entrepreneurs, we don't celebrate our successes, which is a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah, yeah. It's not healthy, but it's reality.
But I think a lot of times we're let down too when people don't celebrate our successes with us.
Yeah.
Like, there's very few people that you could call today and say, oh, you know, simpliHŌM had their best month ever.
Yeah.
And they'd be genuinely excited for you.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is lonely.
It's very, very lonely. Yeah. Nobody, I mean, I don't think most people understand that. But even from like a realtor perspective, it's not to tell you to like never celebrate your victories.
Yeah.
Right. But as an example, I was texting with someone who literally texted me yesterday and was like, I don't know if I even know what I'm doing. And I was like, just do what you know what to do. Like, you know what you're doing, just go do it. Right. So yesterday gets a listing, today gets 2 more listings. I'm like, I think you got it figured out. Like, you're doing fine. But my advice was, don't think about them. Just go keep doing what you're doing, because unfortunately, if you get into a routine of celebrating yourself and your successes too much, then you take your foot off the gas, and then the next thing you know, you're broke again.
Yeah.
So it's a roller coaster ride, and you just got to not be on it.
Yeah, I mean, we have that. I'm sure you see it with a lot of agents, especially new agents, right?
Yeah.
Like they'll come in, they'll
that
have their
first check, and
that first, like, you know, they sold a $300,000 house or $350. That first like $10,000
Yeah.
check just seems
Never
to make,
made 10,000.
yeah, right, like in one
Yeah.
check, right? And then they won't sell a house for 3 more months.
Yeah.
And you're
It's-
like, well, what happened? They're like, well, I was so worried about getting that one check.
Yeah, all the focus. Yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, we see it a lot with our sales guys within our organization too, where they'll have the best month of their life, and it's almost like clockwork. I can guess it.
yeah.
And I can go, okay.
Like, well, guess I'm not buying any houses
I'm
for
like,
the next 3
next
months.
month will be the worst month of your career. I promise.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, I'm the same way. Like, you have to fight it. It's just human nature to be like, oh, I've reached the pinnacle. Now I can rest.
Yeah.
And that's not the case when you're in sales.
Cannot rest at all, and it's not that you can't rest at all. You just can't get in a habit of resting.
Yeah.
It is perfectly fine to take a day off, to take a little vacation and reprieve with your family, reset, do whatever. But what happens if you continue out that celebration? You're just screwing yourself.
I think that the big thing is you've got to be committed to some daily actions. Like, these are the things I do no matter what.
Yeah.
And once you are committed to those, then like the results will come and go.
Yeah.
You'll have good months, you'll have bad months, but like, I show up and I do these things every day, and the results take care of themselves.
Yeah, it's always funny to me how habits lead to success. And shoot, 5, 6, 7, 10 years ago, I would have told you my least favorite thing on the planet are habits.
Yeah.
And like, I would knock people for having habits. Like why do the same thing every single day? Why drive the same way to work every single day? Because I need like new, you know, like I don't drive the same way to work every single day. I also don't come to work every single day. Like, I go to work every single day, but I don't like come to the office every single day.
Yeah.
But I try to take a different way home, different way here, like just to like keep it fresh for me. But the habits, like, I got to make some new habits. Like, I've made a life of habits without drinking enough water, without working out, without eating right, without any of these things.
Yeah.
And cool, like, I'm seeing success over here, but I'm also seeing failure over here. So like, when you got to build like that whole life habit.
Well, and when you're changing habits, it's tough because you're also changing your identity or who you see yourself as. Tony Robbins, I saw in a video, was like, if you're quitting smoking and someone offers you a cigarette, the response should not be, oh, I'm quitting, or I've been 8 days. You know, he mentions like, you've been 8 days without a cigarette. Why are you counting?
Yeah.
If you're quitting smoking, you're not a smoker. There's a difference, right? But it requires you to change your entire view of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes habits like tough to form or tough to change.
That's solid. I love Tony. Tony's a good one. Grant's like, note. There's a reel.
There's a reel.
You want to tell everyone how you change your habits?
You mean the fact that most people, if they watch
Won't
the video,
recognize
won't
you?
recognize me? Yeah. So actually about August of last year,
After he saw himself on camera.
a lot of life changes. No, honestly, it was, I got invited July of last year to speak on a stage in Orlando.
Yep.
And I remember thinking about, like, I was going to get up there and talk about how disciplined our company was and all these things of how great we were. And I was like, and I'm going to do it massively overweight, like 80 pounds overweight.
I'm so
And
disciplined.
I was like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then I just started to think about it. I'm sure, like, there's a ton of people who've probably seen the video about Ed Milet talking about when he went and met with his doctor. And his doctor said, do you have a daughter? And he was like, yeah. He goes, do you want to walk her down the aisle? And he goes, oh, well, I'm going to. And he goes, not right now. Not with the shape you're in, right? And I just kind of had this realization of, like, I have 2 daughters. More important than the money I'll make for them and the legacy I'll provide, that's great. But if I can't walk them down the aisle, I have a problem. And so then shortly after that, hired a trainer, because I knew that if I held myself accountable, that I wouldn't hold myself accountable. And so started at 280 pounds, and I'm at like 225 right now.
That's awesome.
And got about 25 more to go before the trainer probably changes the target on me. So.
Yeah, it's always the next thing,
Yeah.
right?
He was like, your goal weight's 230. I hit 230 and he goes, oh, okay.
Your goal weight's
215. And I was like, what?
That's awesome, man. Good job. Congrats. I am in the process of doing the same thing, unfortunately. Really looking forward to that one. But I also know I won't hold myself accountable. Like, I can hold myself accountable on a million things, but working out, eating right, and drinking enough water is now three of them.
I will say, like, for me, it was very much a mindset hack. So there's, I think we've talked about Culture Index before. The mastermind that I'm a part of, they really hammer it, like, you should know these things about yourself and your people in your company. And I sat down for a meeting shortly before that. And the lady's like, yeah, like, you won't show up for yourself, but you'll show up for other people all day long. She's like, that's just how you're wired. And I was like, oh, okay. So if I'm trying to, like, get healthier, what do I need to do? And she was like, you need to have to show up for somebody. And so that was one of the first things I did was, like, I need to find a group. I need to find someone else. I remember, I don't know if you remember this Facebook post or not. I made a Facebook post on day 2 of my kind of fitness journey and outside of Planet Fitness. And I said, day 2 of, at the time we called it the No More Fat Man Project or something. Like, I was naming it something funny, just, and I said, if things go according to plan, that means I only have about 2 more days before I give up. And it almost took, like, me being extremely honest on social media and being like, hey guys, 3 more days from now, you'll see me back at, Fat Mo's eating a burger. And then people would, like, message me and they're like, hey man, don't give up. Don't give up. And there were all these people that I now, like, I had to show up for 2,000 people on Facebook, or however many friends I've got on there, and then hired a trainer. And it's like, oh, well, if I don't show up, he's going to text me and ask me where I was, right? I went on vacation last week, and I told you about this Tuesday night, and a mutual acquaintance of ours goes to the same gym, and I walk in and he goes, where have you been? I was like, dang man, I was on vacation, leave me alone. And but I'm back, so
That's awesome. Good job. I will post about my 2-day journey to health.
you gotta name it something fun, like,
Yeah, it'll be 2 days to Oreos.
yeah.
I love Oreos.
They're the best.
They're so good. God, I've even got this, like, strategy of, like, the correct pressure when you put 75% in, you get the angel. You're like the angel wings. Yeah. I call them Ori angels.
I might have lost weight, but I'm still a fat man at heart, I promise.
Ori angels, they just pop, and then, like, the perfect amount of, like, milky and crunchy. It's Milk's favorite cookie. You can't go wrong.
It's a sad day when you drop one, though.
It is so sad. I may have dropped one at 2:30 this morning.
Then you have to, like, expedite. You're, like, in a ritual. You're enjoying these, and you're like, I gotta hurry up. Like, I got a man dying down there.
Have you seen the little, they have, like, little scoops that you, like, put the Oreo in and it dunks it into it for you?
Yeah,
That's not the same,
I just don't
man.
think
Like,
it's the same. Like,
that removes the emotion from the experience.
You really have to feel the Oreo breaking down to get.
Yeah, you got to feel that little, like.
Yeah,
you're like, oh god.
Then you're like,
so
oh yeah.
I was half a man down last night. Like, the whole bottom, probably 60% of one side fell into the milk. And it's literally 2:30 in the morning. I shouldn't be eating Oreos at 2:30 in the morning, but I was freaking starving. I did good yesterday. I had 2 salads where I went to eat. Yeah, don't at me with the sodium comments. I know. And my first reaction was get another Oreo quick and try to scrape it up the side. I failed.
Yeah, I will say that that's one thing that a trainer helped is he's like, I walked in day 1 and he's like, where are you going to fail? And I was like, well, to be honest, if I had time to be in the kitchen, then I'd be a chef. Like, I don't have time for it. I've got meetings, I'm doing this and doing that. And he was like, okay, well, you need this meal prep company. And it made it so much easier because now, like, I'm the type of guy, I don't care what I eat. I'm not a picky eater, but I'm going to just grab the first thing that looks somewhat delicious and shove it in my mouth because I'm hungry and I just need to keep going. So, honestly, that made it made it easy because then I didn't have to make a decision.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, well, they're here. I heat them up. I eat them. I move on with my day. So,
you ever heard of Trifecta, the meal prep company?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I ordered like 6 months worth of trifecta meals. And they all went bad in the freezer. So
Are they still in your freezer? Or?
God bless. It was so bad. And I couldn't get past how they worked, man. Like, you popped them in the microwave and the plastic on top, like, blew up like a little balloon.
So I'll say this is the most real estate podcast we've ever had.
I mean, look, it's all things.
I tried Factor
to be
at
successful.
one point, and I don't know. Maybe maybe I'm uncultured, and the rest of the world eats totally differently than
that's
everyone in Tennessee.
Entirely
which
possible.
Is probably true. But like they would send things, and I'm like, I can't even pronounce what this is, much less does it look appetizing. So finding someone local that I'm like, hey, look, like I'll eat.
I know beef and rice.
Like I'll eat chicken, steak, rice, fish. Like I don't care. But then minute that you put the word remoulade or however you say it on my food, I'm like, what is this?
Remoulade,
right? Like romulade, whatever it is. So most of my meal preps are some sort of rice, chicken, and some sort of sauce on them, or with vegetables. Obviously, there's
3 pieces of broccoli.
Yeah, for like 4 or 5. Actually, you saw one of my meals the other night. Yeah, and you're probably like, where did this come from?
Yeah,
it just makes it.
It
easy.
wasn't the Chick-fil-A that was available to everyone. That's for sure.
That did look a lot better.
All right, where can everybody find you and follow along in your success journey?
On most of the socials, I'm on there as Kep Talks, and which is a long story, but Facebook, you can just search my name, Austin Kepley.
Word. Well, I appreciate you, dude.
Yes, sir.
You've been with we've been together now 3 years at simpliHŌM.
Yep.
And we get to fly together and hang out, and it's funny because Austin thinks that we're the same age, but he is in fact 7 years younger than me and a lot further ahead in his journey. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure we're still the same age.
Yeah, well, age is nothing but a number. All right, appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
Do it again.
Sweet.
Thanks for tuning in. We dropped the ball on that one. Like, subscribe, comment, do all the things. You can find us all the places. We appreciate you joining in. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey guys, it's Swy. Thank you for joining us this week, and we hope you got some useful information and we made your day a little bit better. If you're interested in joining the movement of realtors getting their time and life back, check us out at joinsimplihome.com on the browser, at simpliHŌM on socials, or in the description. See you next week.